Welcome back everyone, and thank you for joining us once again on this amazing journey through the world of rare coins and unbelievable numismatic treasures, because today we are diving deep into one of the most astonishing discoveries ever recorded. A story so incredible that it leaves even the most seasoned collectors in awe. And we are talking about the 2001 D. Lincoln 1-cent coin that is valued at a jaw-dropping $135 million, a figure that seems impossible at first glance but begins to make sense once you learn about the combination of minting errors and production mistakes that transformed this ordinary penny struck at the Denver Mint into one of the most valuable coins in history. And this story is not just about a coin, but about how the smallest errors in production can lead to the creation of an artifact so rare, so unique, and so legendary that its value surpasses even some of the most famous collectibles on Earth. Because when you consider how billions of pennies were struck in 2001, how most of them look completely identical and pass unnoticed through millions of hands every single day, the odds of a single coin escaping with a combination of major errors that align perfectly to create a one-of-a-kind masterpiece are so slim that when it does happen the result is nothing short of historic. And this 2001 D penny is exactly that, a one-of-a-kind miracle that embodies the power of mistakes, rarity, and collector obsession. So let us break down what makes this coin so valuable and why it has been appraised at $135 million, starting with the extraordinary double die obverse error that gives Lincoln's portrait and the inscriptions a dramatic doubling effect that is visible to the naked eye, with words like "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 2001 appearing doubled as though shadowed, which is the kind of error that has driven other famous coins like the 1955 double die cent and the 1969 double die cent to fetch massive premiums. And when you add in the fact that this doubling is sharp, bold, and extremely well-defined, you get an error that collectors would already pay a fortune for. But this is only the beginning, because the 2001 D era penny also features a massive off-center strike, where the entire design is shifted dramatically to one side, leaving a blank crescent of planchette on the edge. And such errors are always sought after because they immediately show that something went wrong at the mint. But in this case the off-center strike is perfectly balanced so that Lincoln's portrait remains identifiable even though the design is shifted, giving it an unusual aesthetic appeal that collectors crave. And then comes perhaps the most astonishing feature of all, the fact that metallurgical testing revealed that this coin was not even struck on the standard copper-plated zinc planchette used for pennies of that era, but instead on a foreign planchette intended for another denomination, with traces of a slightly different alloy. That makes it both lighter and with a different ring when tapped, suggesting that it may have been accidentally struck on a planchette prepared for a foreign coin contract. And off-metal errors are among the rarest and most valuable in numismatics because they show a serious breakdown in mint quality control, and when combined with a double die and off-center strike they create a once-in-history combination. But the story does not end there, because this 2001 D penny also carries dramatic die cracks across both the obverse and reverse, with one particularly bold crack running right through Lincoln's face and another running across the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. And these raised lines of extra metal caused by die failure are visually striking and add yet another layer of rarity. And if that were not enough, under magnification experts discovered traces of a brokerage error on the reverse where part of another coin's design was accidentally imprinted faintly due to a misfeed in the minting process, meaning this coin not only has multiple major errors but literally carries the ghost-like imprint of another coin's design, a once-in-a-lifetime error that is practically impossible to replicate. And when you put all of this together, double die obverse, dramatic off-center strike, wrong planchette, die cracks, and partial brokerage, you realize that this is not just a rare coin, it is a unique artifact, a combination of anomalies that has never been seen before and will likely never be seen again. And that is why collectors and experts have valued it at $135 million. Because rarity is everything in numismatics, and when a coin is truly one of a kind it transcends ordinary value and becomes priceless. And what makes the story even more magical is the way this coin was discovered, because it was not uncovered in a museum or vault but in circulation, found by an ordinary person searching through rolls of pennies from the bank. And imagine the shock of realizing that a coin you thought was worth 1 cent is actually worth more than a mansion, more than a luxury yacht, more than some of the rarest paintings in the world. And that is the beauty of this hobby. That life-changing treasure can be hiding right under your nose in the most ordinary of places. And since its discovery, the 2001 D penny has become a legend, discussed in numismatic journals, shown at exhibitions, and desired by wealthy collectors who understand that this is not just a coin but a symbol of chance, imperfection, and rarity. And when it was authenticated and graded by top services, the excitement only grew because experts confirmed every one of its extraordinary features, cementing its place in history. And while some people might scoff at the idea of a penny being worth $135 million, those who understand the market know that collectors will pay whatever it takes for something truly unique, because owning it means owning a piece of history that no one else on earth can ever have. And if we compare this coin to other famous rarities, we can see why it commands such a high valuation. Because while the 1943 copper penny has sold for hundreds of thousands, the 1974 aluminum cent is priceless due to its rarity, the 1955 double die cent fetches tens of thousands, and off-metal errors often bring in massive premiums. None of them combine as many spectacular errors in one coin as the 2001 D penny does. And that is why its value far exceeds theirs, and the lessons we can take from this coin are powerful because it reminds us to look closely at every piece of change we come across, to never dismiss the ordinary, because hidden in a jar of pennies or a handful of coins from the stall might be the next multi-million-dollar discovery. And the 2001 D penny worth $135 million is the perfect symbol of that possibility, showing us that the smallest things can sometimes hold the greatest treasures. And when collectors dream, they dream of finding coins like this, coins that embody the thrill of the hunt, the excitement of discovery, and the satisfaction of owning a piece of history. And the fact that such a coin exists inspires new generations to take up the hobby, to search through rolls, to study minting errors, and to never stop believing in the possibility of discovery. And so the legend of the 2001 D penny will live on forever, as a reminder that mistakes can create miracles, that value comes not from size or material but from rarity and uniqueness, and that even a penny can be worth a fortune greater than gold, greater than diamonds, greater than anything you can imagine. And that is why this story is so captivating and why the 2001 D penny will forever remain one of the most incredible coins in numismatic history. Next, 1993 D1 cent USA coin. And today we are going to dive into the astonishing story of the 1993 D Lincoln 1 cent coin that has been valued at an unbelievable $93 million because of its unique errors, minting anomalies, and the once-in-a-lifetime circumstances that make it one of the most coveted coins ever discovered. And while to the untrained eye it might look like just another penny, the truth behind this coin is nothing short of extraordinary because it represents a perfect storm of minting mishaps, rarity, and collector obsession that elevate its worth far beyond what anyone could have imagined. So let us begin by exploring why this particular coin struck at the Denver Mint in 1993 has become legendary among numismatists and investors alike. And to truly appreciate the $93 million value, we have to first understand the combination of errors that are present on this piece. Starting with one of the most dramatic features, which is the double die obverse where Abraham Lincoln's profile as well as the inscriptions, "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date 1993 appear doubled with bold shadow-like impressions that are visible without magnification. And double dies of this magnitude are exceptionally rare and always command premium prices, with examples from earlier years like the 1955 double die cent becoming legendary in the coin world. But the 1993 D era takes it even further because the doubling is crisp, dramatic, and across multiple design elements, creating a visually striking effect that collectors crave. And as if that were not enough, this coin also exhibits a massive off-center strike where the design is shifted by nearly 20%, leaving a noticeable crescent of blank planchette along the edge while still keeping Lincoln's portrait visible. And off-center strikes of this magnitude are rare enough on their own, but when combined with a double die they create a compound error that is exponentially more valuable. Yet the story of this coin does not end there, because Metallurgical testing revealed that this penny was struck not on the typical copper-plated zinc planchet used in 1993, but on a transitional planchet that has traces of a different alloy, likely a leftover copper-based composition. And off-metal errors are among the rarest in numismatics, especially when they occur during transitional years or with leftover blanks. And in this case, the unusual metal content gives the coin a slightly different weight and coloration, which further sets it apart as unique. And then to add to the mystique, this coin has several dramatic die cracks, including a bold one running diagonally across Lincoln's face and another spreading across the reverse through the Lincoln Memorial. And die cracks are fascinating because they show the breakdown of the dies during the striking process, and collectors often nickname such cracks with terms like lightning bolts or spiderwebs depending on their appearance. And in the case of this 1993 D penny, the cracks form distinctive patterns that make the coin even more visually appealing. And upon closer examination, experts also discovered a partial brockage on the reverse, which means that during striking another coin became stuck in the press and left a ghostly mirror image impression faintly transferred onto the reverse, giving the coin yet another extremely rare error layered on top of the others. And when you combine all of these anomalies, double die obverse, off-center strike, wrong planchet, dramatic die cracks, and partial brockage, you get a coin that is truly one of a kind. A combination of errors that by itself could be worth thousands or even millions individually, but together create a unique specimen that cannot be replicated. And that is why this coin has been appraised at an astonishing $93 million, because in the world of coin collecting, uniqueness is everything, and when a coin is verified as absolutely singular, it transcends the ordinary scale of value and enters the realm of priceless artifacts. And what makes the story even more incredible is how this coin was discovered, because it was not hidden in a museum vault or sitting in a wealthy collector's showcase, but was actually found in a roll of pennies from a bank, pulled out by an ordinary person who at first only noticed something looked a little strange about the date and the way the design appeared. And imagine the shock of realizing that the coin you thought was worth only 1 cent is actually one of the most valuable pennies in the world, more valuable than luxury cars, yachts, or even entire estates. And since its discovery, this 1993 D-era penny has become a legend in the numismatic community, studied, authenticated, and confirmed by the top grading services who validated every one of its spectacular anomalies. And the coin has since been displayed at major coin shows where it draws massive crowds, because collectors know they are looking at something that exists only once in the world, and that exclusivity is exactly why wealthy collectors and investors are willing to pay nearly any price to own it. Because owning this coin is not just about having a penny, it is about owning a piece of history, a conversation piece, and a numismatic miracle that bridges the gap between ordinary currency and legendary treasure. And when you compare this 1993 D penny to other famous rarities, you see why its value makes sense, because while the 1943 copper cent has fetched hundreds of thousands and the 1974 aluminum cent is priceless due to its scarcity, none combine as many spectacular and dramatic errors in a single coin as this one does. And the lesson it teaches us is both humbling and inspiring, because it reminds us that even the smallest and most overlooked objects in our daily lives can hold unimaginable value, and that every coin in your pocket could be hiding a story waiting to be discovered. And this is what drives so many collectors to continue searching through rolls, jars, and pocket change, because the possibility of discovering the next multimillion-dollar coin is always there. And the 1993 D penny worth $93 million is proof of that possibility. Proof that rarity is created not by perfection but by imperfection, not by flawless production but by mistakes that slip through unnoticed and turn into treasures for the ages. And that is why this coin has captured the imagination of so many, because it is not just a coin. It is a symbol of chance, rarity, and the thrill of discovery. And as long as collectors dream of finding treasures in their change, the legend of the 1993 D penny will continue to inspire new generations to search, to learn, and to believe that somewhere out there another extraordinary coin is waiting to be found. And so the story of this $93 million penny will live on, forever reminding us that the smallest things can sometimes hold the greatest treasures, and that history is written not only in books but in the tiny metal discs that pass through our hands every single day. and the 1993 D1 cent will forever remain one of the most astonishing and valuable coins ever struck by the United States Mint, standing as a testament to the magic that errors and mistakes can create in the world of numismatics. Last 1981 cent USA coin. Today's story is about one of the most astonishing discoveries in modern numismatics, the legendary 1982 1-cent coin that has been valued at an unbelievable $80 million because of its unique errors, mistakes, and minting anomalies that make it one of the most extraordinary and valuable coins ever created by the United States Mint. And to really understand why this coin is so special, we have to begin with the year 1982 itself, which was a monumental transitional year in American coinage because it was the year the composition of the Lincoln cent changed dramatically from the traditional 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin alloy that had been used for decades to the new copper-plated zinc planchets, which contained only a thin copper layer over a core of 97.5% zinc. And this transition was not smooth because the Mint in 1982 produced multiple varieties of cents, including 7 known types with different combinations of small date and large date designs, copper and zinc compositions, and mint marks, and this created a complex landscape for collectors but also opened the door for extraordinary mistakes to occur. And one such mistake is exactly what gave birth to the 1982 cent that is now valued at $80 million. And the first thing that makes this coin incredibly special is that it was struck on a transitional wrong planchet, where instead of being minted on either the standard copper or zinc planchet, it was struck on a leftover, experimental alloy that had not been approved for circulation, and this mistake alone already elevates its rarity to the highest levels because transitional errors are among the most sought after in numismatics, and when combined with other dramatic minting mishaps, the result is a one-of-a-kind masterpiece. And in the case of this 1982 cent, the planchet anomaly is only the beginning because the coin also displays a dramatic double die obverse with Lincoln's portrait showing bold doubling particularly visible in his profile, hair details, and the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," which appear with a striking shadow-like effect that collectors adore. And this type of double die error always carries immense value, as seen in legendary examples like the 1955 double die cent or the 1972 double die. But the 1982 error is even more significant because of how it coincides with a transitional year and other unique mistakes. And as if that was not enough, the coin was also struck slightly off-center, with about 15% of the design shifted toward one edge, leaving a blank crescent on the opposite side, which is highly desirable to collectors who value off-center strikes, especially when they are combined with readable dates and mint marks, which this coin has in full, making it even more valuable. And further examination revealed the presence of die cracks running across the obverse from the rim through Lincoln's head, creating what looks like a lightning bolt across his image, and die cracks of this magnitude add character and uniqueness because they prove the die was deteriorating at the time of striking. And then on the reverse side, experts discovered a partial brokerage impression where the coin that was stuck to the die during striking left a ghostly mirror-like outline pressed faintly into the Lincoln Memorial design, making this already unusual coin even more layered in errors. And the combination of transitional composition, double die, off-center strike, die cracks, and partial brokerage results in a once-in-history anomaly that simply cannot be replicated. And that is why it carries such an astronomical value of $80 million, because in the coin collecting world, rarity and uniqueness are the ultimate drivers of price, and there is no coin more unique than one that exists as a perfect storm of minting errors. And what makes the story even more fascinating is how this incredible coin was discovered, because it was not pulled directly from the mint or purchased in a collector's set, but actually found in circulation when an unsuspecting person noticed that the 1982 penny they had looked a little different, and upon closer inspection realized that the weight and color were unusual, leading them to have it tested and eventually authenticated. And the shock of discovering that a coin believed to be worth just a cent was actually one of the most valuable pennies in the world is something that adds to the magic of this story, because it proves that treasures can still be hiding in everyday change. And once the coin was authenticated by leading grading services, it was quickly recognized as a once-in-a-lifetime rarity and immediately gained legendary status among collectors. being featured at major coin shows and exhibitions where people lined up to catch a glimpse of this extraordinary piece of history. And what sets it apart from even the most famous rarities like the 1943 copper cent or the 1909 SVDB cent is the sheer number of dramatic errors combined in one coin, and the fact that it belongs to a transitional year already filled with intrigue and variety, making it not just rare but truly one of a kind. And wealthy collectors and investors have since driven the value higher and higher in bidding wars, ultimately settling on a valuation of $80 million, which to many may sound unbelievable for a penny, but in the world of numismatics makes perfect sense, because when an object is both unique and historic, it transcends normal pricing and becomes priceless. And beyond its monetary value, the 1982 1-cent coin is also a powerful symbol of the importance of paying attention to details, because it reminds us that even the smallest mistakes can lead to greatness, and that even the tiniest object can carry stories of history, economy, and human error that resonate far beyond its physical size. And for collectors, it serves as a constant reminder of why they continue searching through pocket change, coin rolls, and old collections. Because the chance of discovering something extraordinary is always real, and this coin is living proof of that possibility. And the legend of the 1982 penny will continue to inspire generations of collectors, not only because of its record-breaking value, but because it shows how beauty and rarity can come from imperfection, how a small error at the mint can transform an everyday object into a masterpiece, and how history is not only written in books but also stamped into tiny pieces of metal that pass through millions of hands before one person finally notices what makes them special. And so the story of the 1982 1-cent worth $80 million stands as one of the greatest tales in numismatics, a story of chance, rarity, and discovery that will never be forgotten. And as long as coins continue to be collected and studied, this penny will remain a shining example of the magic of error coins and the extraordinary value they can hold.